I want to show you how you can use our Daniel Smith watercolor ground to make an Easter basket and paint it with our beautiful Daniel Smith watercolors for a fun spring project. This is the cardboard basket that I've already applied with our watercolor ground, and after applying, the ground needs time to cure, at least 24 hours. When it's dry, it's similar to cold press watercolor paper. This is the image I'll be using, a cute yellow chick with some Easter eggs, and I'm also going to be using some transfer paper to transfer the image onto my Easter basket. I've taken my image and taped it to my basket with the transfer paper underneath, and I took my pencil and followed the lines to trace the image out. And once I remove my taped image, you can see I have the chick on my basket. Now I'm going to take my Daniel Smith masking fluid and outline some of the areas on my basket so I can block those from getting some of the watercolor. It'll make my painting easier. The masking fluid has now dried to a light buff color, and now I'm ready to start painting. I have our Daniel Smith Hansa Yellow Light, Quinacridone Rose, Cobalt Blue, Sap Green, Quinacridone Burnt Orange, and 4 of our watercolor sticks, Cobalt Blue, Quinacridone Violet, New Gamboge, and Hansa Yellow Light. The first step for painting is I'm going to drop water in my background, which is behind the chick and the eggs, and then I'll drop in my sap green for the ground or the grass and cobalt blue for the sky. So I'm going to take some of my cobalt blue and I'm going to make a light wash and just drop it in where I've gotten the background wet. This will give it a nice, soft, pretty blue background. So I've got my blue done, and now I'm going to add in my green grass, which is my sap green. So now my watercolor has dried, the cobalt blue sky and the sap green grass, and next I'm going to use some rubber cement pickup to remove the masking fluid. So I've removed the last of my masking fluid with my rubber cement pickup, and you can see the nice crisp edges that the masking fluid allows for when I paint over my washes in watercolor. I've also dabbed the masking fluid on with a brush to get this nice little decorative deckled edge, which I think will add some nice interest. Now to paint my little yellow chick, I'm going to add some water in the areas where the little chick is, and then I will drop my Hansa Yellow Light in. So now I'm going to take my Hansa Yellow Light and start putting in my little yellow chick. My next step is to paint in this little cracked open egg, and for that I'm going to use Quinacridone Rose, which is just a brilliant paint color. My pink egg has now dried, and so now I'm free to paint in my little blue egg with the stripes, which I'm going to use with cobalt blue. So my little blue egg has been painted in, and you can see it has a little bit of illusion of roundness because of the deeper, richer color here at the bottom, and the same for the little pink egg here. The next step that I'm going to do is to apply more of our masking fluid around the outside edge here to mask off and allow that to dry. While I'm waiting for some of this other paint to dry, I'm going to go ahead and add in some more masking fluid. I'm using an inexpensive brush because you don't want to use your good brushes with masking fluid. And I'm going to start adding in some of the masking fluid right over where I've painted here at the edge because I want there to be a very nice white border at the end. So I'm just dabbing it on. It's that dabbing that's going to give me that deckled edge. So I'll keep doing that. For my next step, I'm going to use our Quinacridone Burnt Orange to paint in the feet of the little chick. After my Quinacridone Burnt Orange had dried a little bit, I went back and added a stronger bit of detailing with my Quinacridone Burnt Orange to give a little bit of depth to the little chick's feet and beak. Next I'm going to use our Daniel Smith watercolor sticks, the New Gamboge, and add some detailing to the feathers and the wing. I've made my marks with the New Gamboge watercolor stick, and now I'm going to take my brush again and dissolve out some of those little lines with my brush I've dipped in water, and I just start going over that. This is dried, but I don't have quite as much definition as I would like, so I'm going to go ahead and add some more new gamboge, and this time I'm going to dip it into my water and get a little wet and go back over my marks to get a little bit stronger new gamboge and to soften up some of those marks. After going back in with my new gamboge watercolor stick after dipping it in the water, I've gone back in with my paintbrush and just kept working at it and dabbing at it to blend it in to give some shading and modeling to my little yellow chick. Next, I'm going to use another watercolor stick, my quinacridone violet, and I'm going to draw in the stripes on the blue egg. I'm going to dip my quinacridone violet into some water and start working on drawing in my stripes. So after I've drawn in my stripes with my quinacridone violet, I'm going to take my brush and soften and dissolve those little lines. Now I want to paint in the eye for my little chick, and I'm going to use some cobalt blue. Just dip my brush and get basically a little dot. So I finished putting in my little blue eye dot, and now I want to go ahead. There's a little bit of white space here by the feet, so I'm going to fix those with a little bit of serpentine or sap green on my brush. Just add some little touches here and there. If I wanted to, I could make some marks to simulate some grass. So now I've finished putting in some grass. Now I want to fix some errors by going back in and adding some cobalt blue to fix right around the beak and a couple of other areas. There, I fixed some of that. Next thing I'm going to do is add my pink background to the basket. Next, I'm going to turn my Easter basket pink by painting over the large area with my quinacridone rose. Now remember, I have masking fluid to mark off areas where I don't want that to happen. So I finished painting in this beautiful pink quinacridone rose wash, and now it's dry. So now I'm ready to use my rubber cement pickup and remove the masking fluid. So I've removed all of the masking fluid with my rubber cement pickup. So you can see this beautiful crisp white. I've preserved the whites in a kind of a deckled, beautiful little design around my little golden yellow chick. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is painting in the handle using my sap green in a similar light wash that I did with the pink. So I finished painting in my watercolor Easter basket with the yellow fluffy chick, and my last step is to protect it by spraying it with an archival aerosol MSA varnish with UVLS to protect it. Otherwise, if it gets wet, the watercolors will run again. You might be able to see, it can be hard to see on video though, the delicate watercolor, the colors of the Easter basket that you just can't get from other types of paint because watercolor is so transparent, it allows the white of the watercolor ground to glow through it. Also, you're able to use many watercolor painting effects like wet into wet, lifting, glazing, and more. Our Daniel Smith watercolor ground can be applied to cardboard, wood, metal, plastic, plaster, glass, fabric, and canvas, and allows you to paint on those surfaces with your watercolors.